The night sky of planet Alora shimmered with ribbons of blue light. The twin moons hung above the clouds, shining like watchful eyes. Among the stars, a silver ship drifted silently, carrying one of the most important people in the galaxy, Princess Leora of Skyrian. Leora sat by the window watching the stars streak past. She was young, graceful, and full of curiosity. Her long silver hair reflected the soft light inside the cabin, and her deep violet eyes showed both intelligence and loneliness. She had grown up surrounded by advisors, guards, and machines. She was used to comfort but not freedom. That night she was traveling to a distant world for a peace mission. Her father, the Emperor, had trusted her to represent their people in a new alliance. The mission was dangerous, but she wanted to prove herself worthy of her crown. Her ship glided smoothly through space until the control panel suddenly flashed red. The pilot shouted, "Meteor storm incoming. Shields at 70%. Leora stood up, clutching the edge of the seat. The ship began to shake violently. The captain tried to steer away, but huge flaming rocks struck the hull. The ship groaned under pressure as alarms screamed through every deck. "Evacuate! All units, brace for impact!" the commander yelled. Leora was pushed back into her seat by the force of gravity as the ship spun out of control. Through the window she saw the planet below, a glowing green sphere covered in swirling mist. Then everything went black. When Leora opened her eyes again, silence filled the air. The only sound was the soft crackle of small fires around her. She lay on the ground surrounded by twisted metal and broken glass. Her head throbbed and her body ached. For a moment she could not remember where she was. Then she saw the crushed symbol of her royal fleet, the silver phoenix, on a broken panel. Her heart sank. The ship had crashed. Slowly she pushed herself up. Her elegant uniform was torn. Her silver bracelet, a royal communicator, was broken. Around her, glowing trees stretched toward the misty sky. The plants shimmered with soft blue light, and the ground was covered in moss that sparkled like tiny stars. She was alive, but alone. "Is anyone here?" she called weakly. Her voice echoed in the strange forest, but no one answered. Fear began to rise in her chest. Skyrian princesses were trained in diplomacy, not survival. She knew how to lead armies, but not how to survive in the wild. Still, she took a deep breath. She was not just a princess, she was a survivor now. Hours passed as she wandered through the glowing forest. Strange sounds surrounded her. Clicking insects, whispering winds, and distant roars of unknown creatures. The air was heavy and warm, filled with floating dust that glimmered in the light. She tried to find food, water, or any piece of her ship that still worked, but everything was destroyed. Her knees grew weak, and she leaned against a glowing tree. "Father, I failed," she whispered. Just as she was about to give up, a rustling sound came from behind. Her instincts kicked in. She grabbed a broken metal rod and held it like a weapon. "Who's there?" she demanded. From the shadows, a figure stepped out, tall, wearing rough clothing and carrying a strange rifle-like tool. He wasn't Skyrian. His skin was tan, his eyes sharp, and his movements confident but cautious. He raised his hand slightly. "Easy there," he said in a calm, deep voice. "I'm not here to hurt you." Leora froze. That voice sounded different, simple, firm, and strangely human. You're a human," she whispered in disbelief. The man nodded slightly. "Name's Alex," he said. "You're not from around here, I assume?" Leora blinked, still stunned. Humans were not common in this part of the galaxy. Her people considered them primitive, limited to small colonies. Yet here stood a man who looked strong, calm, and capable, not at all what her society described. "I am Princess Leora of Skyrian," she said proudly. "My ship crashed. I need to contact my fleet." Alex looked at the wreckage behind her and sighed. "That thing's not calling anyone anymore. Your communicator's gone too, I bet." He walked closer, scanning the area. His clothes were worn, but his eyes were full of focus, the kind of eyes that had seen danger before. "Are there others with you?" he asked. "No," she said quietly. "Everyone else didn't make it." Alex's expression softened. "Then you're lucky to be alive." He took a small metal device from his belt, a scanner. "There's a storm coming. You shouldn't stay here. I have a camp a few kilometers away. You can rest there." Leora hesitated. She didn't trust easily, especially not strangers. But something in his calm tone made her feel safe. "All right," she said. "Lead the way." The journey through the alien forest was hard. The air grew thicker, and the light dimmed under giant mushroom-like trees. Leora stumbled more than once, and Alex offered his hand to steady her. "You walk like someone who's never been outside a palace," he said with a faint smile. She frowned. "You assume too much." He chuckled. "Just an observation, Princess." His teasing tone surprised her. No one on Skyrian would ever speak so casually to a royal. Yet instead of anger, she felt something different, a strange warmth. When they reached a clearing, Alex pointed toward a small shelter built into the side of a cliff. It was simple but sturdy, made from salvaged ship parts and natural stone. A campfire burned softly inside, and she could see small containers of supplies neatly arranged. "You built this?" she asked. He nodded. "Been stuck here a while. My transport got shot down during a pirate raid months ago. Haven't managed to fix the signal booster yet. So you're stranded too." "Yeah. But I'm alive. That's what matters." He handed her a metal cup filled with warm liquid. "Drink. It'll help." Leora sipped carefully. The drink tasted strange but soothing. As the night deepened, she sat near the fire, watching Alex fix a broken antenna. His hands moved with practiced skill, his focus unshaken. "You work like an engineer," she said. "Used to be one," he replied. "Before all this." Silence settled between them. The crackling fire painted soft shadows on their faces. For the first time since the crash, Leora felt a bit of peace. She studied him quietly. His calm eyes, his rough hands, his patience. Humans were supposed to be weak, impulsive, and fragile. Yet this man seemed strong in a different way. Strong not because of power, but because of spirit. She finally spoke. "Why did you help me? You didn't even know who I was." Alex looked up from his tools. "Didn't need to. You were hurt, alone, and scared. That's enough reason." His answer was simple, but it hit her heart harder than she expected. Skyrians often acted out of duty, politics, or gain, but Alex helped her out of kindness. She looked away, feeling something unfamiliar. Admiration. Later that night, a loud roar echoed through the forest. Alex instantly grabbed his weapon and scanned the perimeter. "Stay inside," he ordered. Through the mist, glowing eyes appeared, a huge beast, its skin pulsing with energy. It lunged toward the camp, claws tearing through the air. Leora gasped, but Alex moved fast. He fired his weapon, sending a burst of light that scared the creature away. It vanished into the shadows, leaving the air buzzing with tension. When it was over, Leora stepped out, her heart racing. "You could have been killed," he shrugged. "Wouldn't be the first time. Survival's a habit." She stared at him in awe. Humans, she thought, were far from weak. They were brave and even reckless, but their courage came from something deeper. As the night went quiet again, she sat beside him near the dying fire. "Thank you," she said softly. He nodded. "Get some rest, Princess. Tomorrow we'll figure out how to get you home." Leora lay down, staring at the strange stars through the open roof. The forest whispered around them, and the warmth of the fire eased her fear. But in her heart, one thought kept returning. Something about him felt familiar, as if she had seen those eyes before long ago in another time. She didn't know it yet, but the human who saved her once before had just saved her again. The first light of the alien sun peeked through the glowing forest, painting the mossy ground in soft shades of green and gold. Princess Leora stirred awake. Feeling the ache of yesterday's crash still in her body, she rubbed her head and noticed Alex already up. checking the perimeter with his usual calm focus. "Good morning," he said without looking up. His voice was steady, almost comforting. "Didn't hear anything last night, so that's a good sign." Leora stood slowly, her limbs stiff. "Good morning," she replied, her voice quiet. She glanced at the small shelter he had made. It was crude but safe. She realized that if he hadn't been here, she would not have survived even the first night. Alex finally turned to look at her. "You move slow for a warrior princess," he said teasingly. Leora frowned but couldn't hide a small smile. "I didn't train for forests, Alex. I trained for palaces and diplomacy." He laughed lightly, and it was the first time she heard him relaxed, not tense. "Well, welcome to reality. Nature doesn't care about training or titles." She looked around at the forest. The towering bioluminescent trees stretched like giant towers into the misty sky. Strange vines with glowing flowers curled around them. The forest was beautiful, almost magical, but dangerous. "We can't stay here," Alex said, his voice serious now. "There are predators. We need to reach higher ground where we can be safer and maybe find a way to signal your fleet." Leora nodded. She had no choice but to trust him. "Lead the way," she said. The journey was slow. The forest floor was uneven, covered in glowing moss that cushioned their steps but hid sharp rocks and small burrowing creatures. Every few minutes Alex would pause to scan the area, his eyes sharp and alert. Leora followed carefully, watching his movements. She couldn't help but notice how different humans were from her own kind. Skyrians moved with grace, but humans were adaptable. Alex had no armor, no shields, and yet he moved through the forest as if he belonged there. He dodged vines, jumped over roots, and climbed small rocks with surprising strength. "How do you do that?" she asked, panting slightly as she tripped over a root. He glanced back and smiled. "Experience. Humans survive by learning fast. We don't have your technology or your powers, so we use what we have." Leora studied him. He wasn't just strong. He was clever. She realized that humans could survive in ways her people could not. This human, was proof of that. As they walked, Leora began to remember bits of her past. She had survived a dangerous situation before, on a different planet with the help of a human. Her memory was faint, but there was a sense of familiarity in Alex's eyes, his calm voice, and his fearless presence. She shook her head. It can't be the same person, she thought. The odds are too small. Hours passed, and the forest grew darker as the mist thickened. Strange sounds echoed all around. Low growls, rustling leaves, and the occasional screech of unknown creatures. Leora's heart raced with every sound. Alex noticed her tension. "Stay close. Don't wander. Most predators here hunt by movement and smell." Leora nodded. She was grateful for his guidance. Every step forward was a lesson in survival, and she felt her respect for him grow. Humans, she realized, were not weak or fragile. They were clever, resourceful, and brave in ways her people often underestimated. During a short rest near a small glowing pond, Leora sat down and looked at Alex. "Why are you here? Alone in a dangerous forest?" Alex shrugged. "My transport was attacked months ago. Pirates. I managed to survive, but my signal devices were destroyed. I've been making do." Leora's eyes widened. "Months? You've survived alone here for months?" "Yes," he said simply. "Humans have a way of adapting. You do what you must to survive." She stared at him, astonished. This man had faced the same dangers she had and more, and yet he remained calm, focused, and alive. For a moment she felt a strange connection, an unspoken bond forming between them. Something about him felt familiar, like a memory she couldn't fully grasp. Suddenly the ground trembled slightly and a low growl echoed from the forest. Alex's eyes narrowed. "That's close," he whispered. "Move behind me." Leora froze for a moment, then followed him. From the mist emerged a large predator, its skin shimmering with the same bioluminescence as the trees. Its multiple eyes glowed red and its claws scraped the ground with terrifying force. Alex didn't hesitate. He aimed his makeshift rifle and fired a warning shot. The creature paused, then charged. Alex moved with speed and precision, dodging its attacks while Leora stayed behind him. "Step forward, princess," he shouted. "You can help." Leora hesitated, then remembered her training. She picked up a long branch and swung it at the creature. Her aim was clumsy, but it startled the predator just enough for Alex to land another shot, forcing it to retreat into the mist. Leora's heart pounded. You could have been hurt," she said, breathless. Alex shrugged. "Surviving is about risks. You live with them. Her admiration for him grew. Humans, she realized, were capable of courage that went beyond physical strength. It was in their determination, their will to act even when fear was overwhelming. They continued their journey, more cautious now. The forest seemed to close in around them, vines hanging like traps, glowing insects buzzing in the misty air. Leora noticed Alex's quiet confidence and clever use of the environment. He moved fallen branches to create bridges, used moss to cover tracks, and chose paths that offered natural protection. "How do you always know the right way?" she asked. Alex smiled faintly. "Instinct, observation. Humans notice small things. You'd be surprised what you can learn just by watching." Leora thought about her people. Skyrians often relied on technology, power, and rules. But humans, this human, relied on perception, intelligence, and courage. There was a strength in that she had never truly appreciated. As they walked, she felt a strange flutter in her chest. Memories of the past, of a human who once saved her life, grew stronger. She studied Alex more closely. His eyes, his calm expression, the way he moved with both care and confidence. Could it be? Could this be the same human? She pushed the thought away for now. Survival was the priority. As night fell, the forest grew even more mysterious. Strange glowing creatures flitted through the trees, and shadows danced across the mossy ground. Alex led her to a small cliffside cave that looked naturally fortified. "This will be safe for the night," he said. "We can rest, eat, and plan the next move." Inside, he lit a small fire. The flickering flames cast warm light over Leora's face, highlighting her pale skin and silver hair. She watched him work with quiet fascination, his hands strong and sure, his movements deliberate. "You've been through so much," she said softly. "And yet you seem calm." Alex glanced at her. "Calm isn't the same as unafraid. You learn to control fear, not ignore it. That's what keeps you alive." Leora nodded slowly. She had never realized that humans could possess such quiet strength. There was bravery in him that didn't need recognition or praise, it simply existed. They shared a simple meal, speaking in soft tones about their pasts. Leora talked about her home, her people, and her mission. Alex listened intently, occasionally sharing small stories of his own experiences surviving in harsh conditions. Despite the danger surrounding them, the conversation brought comfort. Leora felt a connection forming, an understanding that crossed species, culture, and experience. Late into the night, Leora could not sleep. She sat by the cave entrance, staring at the glowing forest. The mist swirled around her, reflecting the twin moons above. Her thoughts returned again and again to Alex, the human who had saved her once before, perhaps without even realizing it. She studied his sleeping figure by the fire, remembering faint glimpses of a past event, a memory buried deep in her mind. The feeling of recognition was strong, but she couldn't place it fully. Her heart beat faster. Could fate really have brought this human back into her life? Could he be the same one who once saved her from danger years ago? The thought was both comforting and frightening. Humans were unpredictable yet capable of incredible courage. And this human, Alex, was living proof of it. As the night deepened, Leora closed her eyes, hoping for sleep, but the questions remained. One thing was clear: survival would not be enough. She needed to understand the man beside her, and the strange, powerful connection she felt toward him. Tomorrow, the journey would continue. But tonight, the princess realized something that could change her view of the universe forever. Humans were not just survivors, they were heroes in their own quiet, fearless way. The morning mist hung thick over the forest, glowing softly in shades of green and blue. Princess Leora awoke to the sound of distant rustling and the hum of unknown creatures moving through the misty undergrowth. She stretched carefully, wincing slightly as her body reminded her of the crash and the journey so far. Alex was already awake, crouched by the fire pit, inspecting a small, portable scanner he had made from salvaged ship parts. The device beeped quietly, scanning the forest for signs of danger or movement. "Morning," Leora said quietly, rubbing her arms against the cool air. "Morning," Alex replied, his eyes not leaving the device. "You slept better than I expected." "That's good. You'll need energy today." Leora nodded and stepped outside the cave to get a better view of the surrounding area. The forest seemed calm at first, with glowing insects flickering in the mist, but there was an underlying tension. She could feel it in the air, a warning that danger was near. Alex noticed her observation. "Stay close. There's something different about today," he said, lowering his voice. Leora's brow furrowed. What do you mean? Not sure yet, he admitted. Just a feeling. Forests like this, they hide more than they show. They packed their few supplies quickly, keeping quiet as they left the cave behind. Leora carried a small knife Alex had given her, mostly for protection while he led the way with his makeshift rifle. The forest seemed denser than the day before, the glowing plants now twisting and bending as if responding to unseen eyes. Hours into the journey, Leora's unease grew. The forest was no longer just alive, it seemed aware of them. Shadows darted between trees and the faint glimmer of movement hinted at creatures following them. Something's here, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Alex nodded, his hand resting on his weapon. I know, stay alert. Move silently. They advanced cautiously, relying on Alex's instincts and Leora's sharp mind. She noticed how his senses seemed attuned to the forest in ways she could not explain. Every step he took, every pause he made, was calculated. Even when it seemed as though nothing was around, he scanned every shadow, every rustle, every unusual light. She felt a mix of admiration and unease. Humans, she realized, had an instinct that even the most advanced Skyrian technology could not replicate. By midday, they reached a narrow gorge with a river of glowing water running through it. Alex led her carefully along the rocky edge, testing each stone for stability. Suddenly, the forest erupted with movement. Figures emerged from the mist, tall, armored aliens with glowing red eyes and sharp weapons. Leora froze. They were the Ravok Raiders, a notorious faction known for capturing nobles for ransom and political power. Alex immediately stepped in front of her. Stay behind me, he commanded, his voice firm. Don't move. The Ravok Raiders stopped a few meters away, eyeing the pair cautiously. One of them, taller than the rest, stepped forward and pointed a weapon at Leora. The Princess of Skyrian, the alien hissed. We have been waiting for you. Leora's heart raced. She had faced danger before, but being hunted for her title felt different. This was personal. These aliens did not want her alive. They wanted leverage, power, control. Alex remained calm, his eyes scanning for escape routes. We're leaving, he said simply. The leader snarled. You won't escape. The first attack came suddenly. The Ravok Raiders lunged forward with energy blades and advanced weapons. Alex moved with precision, dodging, blocking, and firing when necessary. Leora instinctively followed, using the knife he had given her to defend herself when one of the aliens approached. Despite their strength, the Raiders underestimated them. Alex's unconventional tactics allowed them to fight efficiently. He guided Leora to higher ground using the glowing river and rocky terrain to their advantage. Jump, he shouted, pulling her just as a blast of energy hit the rock she had stood on. She stumbled, landing safely on the other side. Why are you so good at this? She asked, panting as they ran. Alex gave her a brief smile. Experience. Humans survive by improvising. You learn quickly or you die. Leora's mind raced. Every action he took, every move he made, reminded her of something she had long forgotten. His style, his calm under pressure, it was the same as the human who had once saved her before. Could it really be him? She pushed the thought away for the moment. Survival came first. They found temporary cover behind a fallen tree, panting and injured but alive. Leora's uniform was torn, and small cuts marked her arms and legs. Alex inspected the attackers from behind cover, calculating their next move. They're trying to corner us, he whispered. If we don't move fast, we're done. Leora nodded. Then let's move. We can't wait for them to make the first strike. Using Alex's guidance, they navigated through a series of narrow paths and glowing vines. Leora noticed how he used the forest itself as a weapon. Rocks that could be pushed to block attackers, thick vines to slow pursuit, and the river's mist to mask their movement. She felt admiration growing into something more profound. Humans were clever, yes, but they also had courage and quick thinking, traits that her own people often dismissed. Alex's presence was changing the way she viewed humanity. Hours passed, and the forest began to thin slightly as they reached a plateau overlooking the alien world below. From this height, they could see the glowing rivers, the misty trees, and distant mountains. But the view was short-lived. A shadow fell across the plateau. One of the raiders had followed them, silent and deadly. Leora froze as the alien aimed a weapon directly at them. Alex reacted instantly, pushing her aside and firing his rifle. The alien was knocked back, but more were coming. This is bad, Leora said, her voice trembling. There are too many of them. Alex's eyes narrowed. Not if we use what they don't expect. He picked up a chunk of glowing rock and threw it toward a nearby cliff. The rock exploded in a burst of energy, startling the raiders and giving them precious seconds to escape. Leora gasped. You're incredible. How did you know that would work? Alex didn't answer immediately. His focus was on keeping them alive. Instinct, he said finally. You notice patterns, you adapt, and you act fast. That's how humans survive. She felt a wave of respect and awe. Humans were underestimated, dismissed, and sometimes ridiculed, but they had a resourcefulness that no technology could replace. As the sun began to set, they finally reached a small cave hidden by vines. It was safe for the moment. Leora collapsed inside, exhausted, and Alex sat beside her, checking her injuries. You were amazing today, she said softly. I don't think Skyrians could have survived like you did. He shook his head. Survival isn't about strength. It's about will, observation, and making the right decisions at the right time. Anyone can survive if they have those. Leora's mind drifted back to the past, the memory clearer now. She saw flashes of a time when a human had saved her life, the way he moved, the way he acted calmly under pressure. She looked at Alex now, and her heart skipped a beat. It was him. She recognized him fully now, the same human who had once rescued her when she was younger, who had risked everything for her without asking for anything in return. The odds of seeing him again were astronomical, yet here he was in the middle of a dangerous alien forest, saving her life once more. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke. Alex, it's you, isn't it? He looked at her, surprised, then recognition dawned on his face. Princess? You remember? She nodded. How could I forget? You saved me once before. I never thought I'd see you again. Alex smiled faintly. Fate has a strange way of bringing people back together. For a moment, they sat in silence, the forest around them humming with life. Despite the danger, the connection between them was undeniable. Humans were capable of greatness, she realized. Bravery, intelligence, and loyalty that crossed species and time. They had survived the day, but tomorrow promised even greater challenges. The Ravok raiders would not give up easily. Yet Leora felt hope, courage, and trust not just in Alex, but in humanity itself. For the first time, she truly understood what it meant to be saved, not just by strength or power, but by spirit, by ingenuity, and by an unbreakable will to survive. The sun rose slowly over the alien forest, sending streaks of pale light through the misty trees. Princess Leora awoke to the quiet rustle of leaves and the faint hum of glowing insects. She felt the ache of yesterday's battles in her muscles, but the memory of seeing Alex again, the human who had once saved her life, kept her heart alive with hope. Alex was already up, checking the area around their temporary shelter. Even after months in the forest, his movements were precise, careful, and calm. Leora watched him for a moment, studying how a human could survive so well in a world that even advanced aliens might find dangerous. Morning, she said softly. Morning, he replied, looking up briefly before returning his focus to the ground. Sleep well? Leora nodded. Better than expected. She glanced at him, noticing the subtle scars on his hands, the way his eyes scanned constantly, and the quiet confidence in his posture. Humans were supposed to be weaker than Skyrians, yet this one was extraordinary. Alex noticed her gaze. Thinking? He asked, raising an eyebrow. Leora shook her head slightly. Just observing. After a quick meal of preserved fruits and edible moss, Alex began planning their path out of the forest. The Ravok raiders were still a threat, and he knew they would be back soon, more determined than ever. We need to move, he said firmly. They'll track us if we stay in one place too long. Leora agreed, adjusting the small pack she carried. Her mind, however, was not entirely on survival. She couldn't stop thinking about Alex, about the feeling of recognition she had felt when she first saw him again. Alex, she began cautiously. How do you do all of this? Survive, fight, think ahead? Humans aren't supposed to be like this. He looked at her, his expression thoughtful. Humans survive because we adapt. We notice, we plan, we act. You think it's luck, but it's not. It's learning to face fear and keep moving forward anyway. Leora studied him quietly. She realized she had underestimated humans all her life. They were clever, brave, and resourceful in ways her people did not always appreciate. And Alex, her Alex, was the perfect example. The day was long and exhausting. They moved carefully through the forest, avoiding predators and dangerous terrain. Every time Leora stumbled, Alex was there to steady her. Every time danger appeared, he acted without hesitation. By late afternoon, they reached a small clearing. The glowing river from before flowed gently nearby, reflecting the alien sky. Leora knelt beside the water, taking a moment to rest. "You know," she said, "I've been thinking. Humans, maybe we were wrong about you. You're not weak. You're clever, brave, capable." Alex smiled faintly. "Thanks. Most Skyrians don't think that way." She looked up at him, her violet eyes meeting his calm gaze. "You're proof of it. You saved me. Twice. I don't think any Skyrian could have done what you did." He looked surprised, then serious. "Twice?" Leora nodded. "I remember now. You saved me once before years ago. I didn't know it would be you again. But here you are." Recognition dawned in Alex's eyes. "Princess, I remember you too. I never thought I'd see you again after that day." A silence fell between them, filled only by the gentle flow of the river. Leora realized something important. Humans were more than their appearance or size. They had courage, intelligence, and a loyalty that transcended species. And Alex embodied all of it. The peace didn't last long. A sudden crackling sound echoed through the clearing. Leora and Alex immediately crouched behind a large rock. From the trees emerged the Ravok raiders, moving with a precision that suggested they had tracked the pair for hours. Alex whispered, "They've been waiting. We need to act fast." He scanned the area quickly, noting rocks, fallen logs, and vines that could be used to their advantage. Leora followed his lead, her trust in him absolute. The first raider stepped into the clearing, spotting them. With a sharp cry, he charged. Alex fired a warning shot, causing the creature to stumble. Leora raised her knife and struck at another raider who came too close. The battle was chaotic. Leora noticed how Alex's movements were different from hers. He wasn't just fighting with strength. He was using the environment, predicting attacks and improvising. He was teaching her without words how to survive. At one point, a raider lunged at Leora from behind. Alex reacted instantly, pushing her aside and firing a precise shot that knocked the attacker back. Leora's heart raced, but she realized something remarkable. Humans had a combination of courage, quick thinking, and instinct that even her people could not easily match. When the immediate threat passed, they hid behind a series of boulders, catching their breath. Leora looked at Alex with awe. You're amazing. How can a human be this good?" Alex smiled faintly. "It's not about being amazing. It's about surviving, protecting others, and staying calm. That's how we do it." Leora's mind was racing. Humans, she realized, were not inferior. They were different, and in some ways stronger than her people in their ability to adapt and act under pressure. Alex had shown her that clearly. She felt a sense of gratitude and respect unlike anything she had experienced before. And in her heart, she knew something else. She trusted him completely. As evening fell, they found temporary shelter in a small, hollowed-out tree trunk, reinforced with rocks and vines. The fire Alex made cast soft shadows, and the glowing forest light filtered through the leaves. "You saved me today," Leora said softly, her voice almost trembling. "Again, I don't know how to thank you." Alex shook his head. "You don't need to. I did it because it was the right thing to do. You'd do the same for someone else?" Leora looked at him, realizing that humans had a moral courage that went beyond duty or politics. Alex acted out of kindness, bravery, and instinct without thought of reward. Her people often underestimated humans, but she now knew the truth. Humans were capable of extraordinary heroism. For a moment, she allowed herself to relax, to feel the connection that had been growing between them since the crash. She reached out and touched his arm lightly. "I remember you now. I knew it was you. You saved me before." Alex looked at her, eyes widening slightly. "You remember?" She nodded. "Yes, it's clear now. Fate brought us together again." "I can't believe it," he smiled softly. "I guess it did. And now we survived together." The night passed with quiet conversation and shared stories. Leora learned more about Alex's life, his past adventures, and the way humans survive against all odds. She shared her own memories, her life as a princess, and the lessons she had learned about courage, diplomacy, and responsibility. Through it all, She realized that humans were not just capable of surviving, they were capable of inspiring hope, courage, and change. And Alex was the perfect example. When dawn approached, Leora felt a new determination. She had always believed in her own strength, but now she understood the true power of humans, their ability to face fear, adapt, and act with intelligence and bravery. "We need to move soon," Alex said, breaking her thoughts. "The raiders won't stop, and we need to find a safer path to the highlands." Leora stood, feeling the aches in her muscles, but her spirit was stronger than ever. "Lead the way," she said. "I trust you." And she meant it. As they left their temporary shelter and moved through the misty forest, Leora's mind wandered. She thought of her people, of her mission, and of Alex. She realized something profound. Humans were not only capable of surviving, they were capable of heroism that transcended species and time. And Alex had shown her that clearly, not just with his skills, but with his courage, kindness, and unwavering loyalty. She looked at him as they climbed a rocky hill, the glowing forest stretching endlessly below. For the first time, she felt a new sense of respect and understanding for humanity, and she knew that no matter what dangers lay ahead, she would face them with him at her side. Together, they would survive. Together, they would overcome. And together, they would prove that humans were heroes in ways the galaxy had never imagined. The forest slowly began to thin as Princess Leora and Alex climbed higher into the alien highlands. The mist that had obscured the glowing trees below gave way to open skies and distant mountain peaks. For the first time since the crash, Leora could see a clear path forward, a chance to escape the danger of the Ravok raiders and reach safety. Alex moved with careful steps, scanning the surroundings as always. Leora followed, trusting him completely now. She no longer saw him simply as a human or as a stranger, but as a hero, the one who had saved her twice in her life. "We're close," Alex said after a while, pointing to a plateau that overlooked the forest below. "From here we can signal your fleet or find another way out." Leora nodded, a sense of hope swelling inside her. She looked down at the forest they had left behind, glowing faintly in the distance. It had been beautiful, yes, but deadly, and it had tested both of them, showing her the incredible courage and skill of the human at her side. As they approached the plateau, a sudden rustle caught their attention. From the shadows, a group of Ravok raiders appeared, more aggressive and organized than before. Leora froze for a moment, but Alex stepped forward, standing firmly between her and the attackers. "Stay behind me," he shouted. "We don't have time to negotiate." The raiders charged, but Alex was ready. He had studied their movements carefully and used the terrain to his advantage. He dodged attacks, knocked enemies off balance, and guided Leora to higher ground. Using the rocks and uneven surface, they were able to slow the raiders' pursuit. Leora's heart pounded, but she moved with purpose. She had learned so much from Alex, the instincts, the courage, the strategy. She fought not just to survive, but because she trusted him and knew he trusted her. Finally, the raiders, frustrated by their inability to catch them, retreated back into the forest. Leora exhaled, relief washing over her. "You were incredible," she said, her voice trembling. "I don't think I could have done this without you." Alex shook his head. "No, you were incredible too. Humans survive, but we can't do everything alone. We rely on others, and you were smart, brave, and quick." Leora realized something profound. Humans had a strength that her people often overlooked. Not raw power, but intelligence, courage, and the ability to adapt under pressure. Alex embodied all of these qualities. At last, they reached a safe plateau, where Alex began preparing a signal device from the pieces of his old equipment. Leora helped as best as she could, remembering his instructions. The small device emitted a faint light into the sky, a signal that could reach her fleet or friendly ships. Hours passed, and Leora sat beside him, watching the sky. The stars began to appear, scattered across the darkening horizon. Her mind wandered to her home, to her father, and to the people who had thought humans were inferior. She looked at Alex, kneeling beside her, his hands working with precision and care. "I understand now," she whispered. "Humans are not weak. You're more capable than anyone gave you credit for. You saved me. Twice." Alex glanced at her, a faint smile on his face. "I don't do it for praise. I do it because it's right. Because people need help, and because I care about you." Leora's heart skipped a beat. She realized that heroism was not just about fighting, it was about kindness, loyalty, and courage. Alex had all of it in abundance. Finally, after hours of careful adjustments, the signal device hummed to life, sending a strong beam into the sky. Moments later, distant lights appeared on the horizon, Skyrian fleet ships responding to the signal. Relief flooded Leora. "They're coming," she said, her voice bright with hope. "We'll be safe soon." Alex nodded. "And your people will see what humans can do. They'll understand why I've survived here, and why humans should never be underestimated." When the fleet arrived, sleek ships gliding silently across the sky, Leora felt a surge of pride. Not for herself, but for the human standing beside her, the one who had proven his courage, intelligence, and heart time and again. The Skyrian fleet landed, and a small team of elite soldiers approached. Leora stepped forward, introducing Alex formally. "This is Alex," she said, her voice steady and commanding. "He saved my life twice. He has shown courage, intelligence, and loyalty beyond what we thought humans were capable of. I owe him everything, and my people should recognize that." The soldiers looked at Alex with surprise. Humans were rare in Skyrian territory, and most underestimated them. But after witnessing Leora's confidence and hearing her words, they nodded respectfully. One of the commanders said, "We underestimated humans, but clearly this one is extraordinary." Alex bowed slightly, humble yet proud. Leora smiled, realizing that this moment marked something bigger than just survival. Humans had earned respect, not through force or conquest, but through courage, skill, and character. That evening, Leora and Alex stood on a cliff overlooking the alien world below. The forest stretched endlessly, glowing faintly in the dim light. She felt a sense of completion, of survival, of trust, and of recognition. "You know," Leora said softly, "I've always believed in the strength of my people, but now, I understand. Humans are heroes too. Brave, clever, and capable, and Alex, you've shown me everything that's best about your kind." Alex smiled. "Thanks, Princess. But you've shown me too, how determination and intelligence can guide even the bravest human through danger. Together we're stronger." For a long moment they stood in silence, watching the stars appear in the dark sky. Leora realized that humans were more than her people had ever imagined. They were capable of greatness, courage, and heroism that could change the galaxy. And Alex had proven it all, not just to her, but to everyone who would hear their story. In the following days, Leora returned home with the Skyrian fleet with Alex at her side. She introduced him to her father, the Emperor, and recounted the journey, the battles, and the courage he had displayed. The Emperor listened carefully, his eyes widening as he realized the truth. "So humans are capable of this?" he asked, almost in disbelief. Leora nodded. "Yes, Father. Humans are brave, clever, and resourceful. Alex has saved my life twice. He has shown what humanity can do when underestimated and pushed to its limits." The Emperor considered this carefully, then smiled. "Then perhaps it is time we rethink our assumptions. Humans may hold more value than we ever realized." Leora looked at Alex, proud and grateful. He smiled back, humble yet proud of what he had achieved. Over time, Alex became a celebrated figure among the Skyrians, not for his strength or title, but for his bravery, intelligence, and unwavering loyalty. Leora worked to build a new alliance between Skyrians and humans, advocating for understanding and cooperation. The galaxy began to see humans in a new light, not as weak or insignificant, but as heroes capable of extraordinary acts, and Leora never forgot the moment she recognized Alex again. The human who had saved her life once before and had proven his greatness beyond any doubt. As they stood together overlooking the stars, Leora smiled. "We did it," she said softly. Alex nodded. "We survived, together and humans. Well, we're stronger than anyone thought." And with that, they turned to face the future, a galaxy that had begun to recognize the true power of human courage, ingenuity, and heroism. The stars stretched endlessly before them, full of possibility. And in that vast universe, one thing was certain: humans were no longer underestimated.